Hello, everybody. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you over there, yeah. You know, my mother, before she passed away, was in an assisted living place. And occasionally they'd ask me to speak there. And those people couldn't leave. So does anybody have an oxygen bottle? No, they don't. Okay. Well, welcome to a story really about the Explorers Club. And I've changed my speech actually since I've noticed that I have just a very intelligent group here. So please give yourselves all a big hand. All right. Thank you back there. Thank you back there. I feel like I'm going to know everybody on a first name basis. I'm going to tell you a little something about the organization that I was president of up until 2 days ago when I stepped down. No, it wasn't because of the Epstein files. It was just a natural progression of things. But here we go.
Among countless notable achievements in exploration, 5 firsts achieved by our members define the legacy of the Explorers Club. 1909, the North Pole. 1911, the South Pole. 1953, the highest point on Earth, summiting Mount Everest. 1960, the lowest point on Earth, the Marianas Trench. 1969, the surface of the Moon, the Apollo 11 mission. The club's founding mission, to promote exploration by all means possible, remains our driving force. Headquartered in New York City with a community of chapters around the world, the Explorers Club supports scientific expeditions of all disciplines and unites our members in the bonds of good fellowship. Historic flags are carried on our most distinguished expeditions. Our members are storytellers and changemakers. We are driven by the instinct to explore, forge new frontiers, and push boundaries for the scientific advancement of human knowledge. We are explorers.
I really love that voiceover, right? I always felt like if I had that guy's voice, I would have been married 10 years earlier. You know, really at the heart of exploration, or what all of we do, is storytelling. This is a picture from the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia. And I remember my grandmother, who is long departed, used to say to me, "Be careful in choosing companions. Choose those who act nobly their part. For remember, the poorest in clothing may cover the noblest heart." And really what that means is that knowledge and information and how we see the world doesn't necessarily come from something based on someone who looks like you or even maybe your same education level. I'm going to ask this question because I know this is a really adventurous audience. Last Saturday when we had our annual dinner, I asked the audience this question. Come on, guys. Who here has been to the North Pole? Come on, come on, come on. Almost. When you're a kid, Santa's knee. South Pole, Everest, the Mariana Trench, the moon, right, all of those things. All right, we mentioned that it's headquartered in the Upper East Side of the Explorers Club. And I remember the very first time I moved in here, this is the members only lounge there. It was in the 1980s, and I was going to a lecture, and they had a rope across it said members only. And I heard somebody talking about Amazonian spear tips and somebody else talking about walking in space. And I thought, I have found my tribe. I put this one in because this is one of our annual dinners. This was in 2004. I was president. Notice there's a napkin in my hand. I was introducing Buzz Aldrin, and all of a sudden out of the crowd, if anybody ever saw the movie Bodyguard, I saw this one face that looked different. This guy was walking straight towards the stage. I thought, my God, this guy's going to try to shoot him or something. So I put my napkin to put it in front of his face, and just to cover his angle. And he grabbed my hand and he bit me. So I don't know if anybody's ever had that happen. Probably not. Okay, we're going to start on this slide. This is me on Mount Kilimanjaro in 1971. And that's my dad. He was an airline pilot. He was also the first man to solo the Pacific Ocean. And this is where I'm going to tell you I am going to change my talk I originally planned. And I'm going to tell you why. There's 2 things that happened to me on the way here. One on Saturday night and on an Uber ride to the airport here. In the Uber ride, young guy in his 20s told me he was from Dominican Republic, and he just started talking to me about transgender mice. I said, no, we're not changing the sex of mice. It's transgenic. And then he went on to the moon, which is the other topic, saying how he didn't think we actually went there. Now, the reason I say this is, in that picture, I'm 11 years old, and it's the year after they landed on the moon, and I did not know anybody at that point who'd ever thought that we faked going to the moon. Why are we now 50-something years later, and this happens on a regular basis, that people say we didn't go to the moon, or they're calling into question so many things in science, whether it be evolution. So we have to think about how we communicate science. The other thing is, on Saturday night at the annual dinner in New York City, somebody approached me, he said he was from the White House, and he said, if the White House could grant you one favor, what would it be? That's a pretty loaded question, right? I could think of a lot of things, but what I always tell people is, be strategic, be for something, not against something. So I said to him, if you could give me that magic wand, I would like you to fund research and development. I said, if you want to know what makes America great or the world great, it is science and research and all those wonderful things. He goes, no, something else. Anyhow, and that is going to be a little bit of a topic of my talk. So this is you guys should recognize this photo from Earthrise in 1968. It was such a magical moment in our history now with Artemis. You saw even a better, I think it was actually an Earth set, but someone had sent me a video of a poet, and this is in 2019. Her name was Amanda Gorman, and she had written a poem and then did a performance of it called Earthrise. And I was so moved by this poem because I thought to myself, she is explaining the fragility of the earth and its beauty probably better than any PhD that I've ever spoken to on that subject. And I thought, wow, how we communicate science really has to change, because it's not, one size fits all. So during COVID, I used to go on a lot of walks. I live in Connecticut, and I thought that we honor the same people over and over again. I know Bob Ballard just spoke before lunch, and I think he had 2 less people than I did, right? This is the biggest crowd they've had all day, right? Nothing's been bigger. No. So I thought, we celebrate the same people over and over again. And I thought, all of us, and I would challenge actually everybody here to think about when you've gone places. I've gone to Africa a lot. I've been to many other places, but invariably, you meet somebody that's so incredible, and you come back from your trip and you'll say, I met the most incredible blah, 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 and usually that's where it ends. But I thought to myself, explorers are very good at saying, look at me, pounding their chest, I'm on the summit, give me an honor. I asked the Explorers Club to break that mirror of self-reflection and nominate somebody to this group, 50 people changing the world that the world needs to know about. And the first year and the second year, we're into our 6th year, it has been incredible. These are the faces of the new explorer. And as I mentioned, I'm very proud of the Explorers Club and our famous first, but if I really thought about it, people pretty much look like me. And one of our members, African-American solo hiker, it's in his 80s now, he said he used to go hiking down the Appalachian Trail, and he'd run into people. People were unaccustomed to seeing a black man walking on the trails, and they'd be like this. He said it actually was startled people. And he said, when you don't see somebody like yourself, you tend not to do it. And so these are some of the faces of the Explorers Club 50. Shearing, I just met her just this weekend, and when I remember reading her application, I mean, look at this. She's got a baby strapped on her shoulder. She's a PhD. She's protecting snow leopards in her country of Nepal. You know how hard it is for a woman in Nepal to get a PhD? This is an incredible woman. She was just magnificent. This is Tia Clark. Tia Clark is from Charleston, South Carolina, grew up in the oyster business, was a bartender, and she would tell you the same thing. She went through a bit of a problem with drinking, had to stop, and now she went back into the oyster business, and she takes people out oystering and works with kids on STEM projects. Just an incredible person. You know, Hari climbed, you know, Everest without any legs. And I'm just giving you, you know, just a quick sampling of some of these faces. This is TP. This is an interesting story. This is in India. In the home where he lives on an island. And for 20 years, he and his family have been religiously planting mangroves around their island to protect it from encroaching seas. When he got a letter from the Explorers Club saying that he had been honored with this, the villagers told him that the US government was looking for him. He actually went into hiding with his family because he thought the US government. I had another friend who eventually, you know, got the right message to him. This is one of my favorite. This is Susan Bauer. Susan Bauer is in the center there. She has a group called Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage. She's 85 years old. She is like a cult leader. She takes women over 65 and they go into all these ponds throughout Cape Cod and they, you know, take trash out. That particular day in which that photo, I tagged along. I wasn't allowed to go swimming with them. And by the way, they actually had many male admirers out on the side, which was kind of interesting to see, you know, sort of groupies. But her organization's become so popular that she has people asking her favors if they could get, you know, them in on that swim because she can only handle so many at a time. You know, just incredible energy, 85 years old. So she's the oldest of the EC50. The other sort of topic in which I'm trying to further the way we message exploration is, so those are people who I think are more representative of the global fabric of exploration. It's been so positive on both for them and both for an old organization. Everybody loves having younger, smarter, more interesting people at this club. Now we're also starting a program in which we send high school science teachers on expeditions. This is in the boiling river of Peru. This is where we, you know, did our first sort of test expedition of sending high school teachers. And our theory on this one, or at least what I hope, is that similar to that pebble that you drop into a pond, that will have a ripple effect. And so that's just a quick overview of the Explorers Club. All right, well, thank you very much.